What is going on YouTube? Twitchy Tango here, and it's part 3 of this ongoing series of The Road to Resident Evil 4 Remake. I hope everyone is having a marvelous, we'll just say weekend, because there's no telling when this video is going to get uploaded. It will be the weekend though. The weekend of the first week in October. It's Halloween season, boys and girls, but regardless of whether you celebrate it or not, we're talking today about possible DLC and working on the already extra game modes we have, like Mercenaries, Simon Ada, Separate Ways, and what they could do to improve upon it. But without further ado, let's jump into it. When I was a young lad, games used to come out complete. I know that's the joke because obviously there were games that were broken from launch and the like thereof, but that's the joke I keep telling myself to make myself feel better of the current hellscape we are in. I know that shocks a lot of people because of how broken games are made nowadays. A lot of games requiring a day one patch or a multitude of patches to become the game that was promised by developers looking at you, Cyberpunk 2077. And that's just unfortunately the case nowadays. The modern day of gaming is very bleak. A lot of the time they come out broken, missing key features that are more often than not promised by the developer that will be at launch. Kind of the situation with Overwatch 2 right now. If you haven't played it originally, then you have to go through unlocking all the characters doing X amount of things. Like, what? Modern gaming is hell. But I think Resident Evil 4 had a lot going for it at the time of its release way back in the early 2000s, whether it was Mercenaries, whether it was Assignment Ada in Separate Ways, or the New Game Plus. There was a myriad of ways you could just continuously play that game, and also the mini game that was within Resident Evil 4, the shooting range. I think Remake has the potential to go really crazy with improving Mercenaries, maybe working more with Assignment A in Separate Ways, maybe improving the shooting range, giving us possible DLC, which we will cover in this video. But the one DLC I think that comes to mind more than anything is Operation Javier. Operation Javier was part of one of the Dark Side Chronicles DLC, or not DLC, campaigns, where you play as Leon and Krauser before the events of Resident Evil 4. And it kind of didn't really give insight to their relationship or really do much more for Krauser in the grand scheme of it. But I think a newly redone Operation Javier in the Reach for the Moon engine would be a great idea. It would give people more connection to Krauser and Leon, the relationship. And there's a lot of ways that could greatly improve the relationship. And of course, in my characters video, I'll be talking about ways they can improve Krauser and the like. So there's a big way that they could redo this Operation Javier and the Reach for the Moon engine, give us a third person perspective, allow us to maybe alternate between Krauser and Leon, and sort of see how Krauser became the man that we know in Resident Evil 4. That is probably one of the biggest things they could do as optional DLC. I don't know if they could I don't want to see them port it. So it'd be like redoing it in a Reach for the Moon engine. I'm sure that would literally take a crap ton of resources. So I don't know how plausible that is. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's possible, but I wouldn't put it past Capcom. But I would like to see that. Give us bridge the connection between Leon and Krauser, so new people who can't access Dark Side Chronicles can actually have that connection between Leon and Krauser. And that's just kind of what I think for possible DLC. That's just one of them. I've got an idea that we'll discuss towards the end of the video that I'd like to see that's only been done a few times within Resident Evil. But another possibility is combining Assignment Ada and Separate Ways into a larger mode, giving Ada more screen time as well as the game much longer for everyone. I think that'd be a great idea as well. Maybe converge them, sort of keep the same plot for Ada trying to help Leon and trying to prevent him from getting killed, but also her collecting Plaga samples wouldn't be a bad idea. Make it cohesive, make it longer if it's possible. 7 or 8 hours for an Assignment Ada Separate Ways hybrid, and allow us more time with Ada. Another thing I would honestly love to see is maybe sort of introduce a zapping system between her and Leon. That adds and sort of adds a lot more to the connection. Maybe Leon kills a few Ganados in the castle that if you had an Ada would have to deal with, or Ada leaving ammo or not picking up a treasure. So Leon, when he comes through that area, can grab it, leaving herbs, that sort of thing. I think that'd be a pretty good idea. Giving more connection between Ada's story and Leon's, as well as having more of a connection there as such. Again, it'd be a way to improve upon what came before while giving more fans stuff to do. And I think any time with more Ada is always a plus. I think a lot of people can agree. More Ada isn't a bad thing. Especially they're getting possibly an original voice actor. Don't know if that's confirmed, but they're not rehiring the wonderful voice actor from Resident Evil 2 Remake. So I don't know at this point. But I think one of the biggest things that Resident Evil 2, or not Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 4 Remake could definitely benefit from and also do huge things with is a randomizer. I think if R.E. Duke, the guy who does the randomizers for the original Resident Evils, as well as I think Resident Evil 1 Remake and Resident Evil 4, can do it just by himself, imagine what Capcom could do with their own engine and their own resources. I honestly would pay $15 to $30 for a licensed randomizer made by Capcom and allowing console gamers to access it, which I don't know how that would work in terms of like a randomizer on console. I just know it's pretty easy point and click for people like me with a PC. But it'd be very interesting if Capcom would put their resources into doing an actual randomizer for the remake. I don't know if that's possible within the engine. I know people have tried to do randomizers for RE2 Remake and I think RE3 Remake, but it's only certain things like getting items early. I don't think there's really a lot you can do with it, but I'm sure Capcom with their infinite resources could make a randomizer. So it'd be interesting to see Capcom just pass it off as $15, $30 DC, have a bunch of seeds that are accessible to console gamers, and just go crazy with it. I honestly, that would sell. I think would sell more than a DLC for like Operation Javier and the Reach for the Moon engine. But randomizers add more longevity to a game, allowing for different playstyles and approaches when dealing with enemies that show up sooner than they're supposed to. It's like nothing like throwing Super Salvadors into the mix for you to deal with on top of cultists or military Ganados or villagers to spice up the game and keep you on your toes. You could get. I have yet to see JJ in an early game, but I recently did a randomizer to get footage for this, and I got nothing but Bella sisters in the village, a beginning village, and like one or two dynamite throwers and torch wielders. So randomizers really change it up. Couple that with being able to randomize what the merchant has, enemy HP, what your starting weapon is, it really adds longevity to the game and makes it more engaging than it would the first 10 or 12 times that you played through it. But another thing I think would be a good idea is creating DLC for Lewis. That shows him going through the village castle, working with Leon until the moment of his death. Giving us more backstory into who Luis is, and giving fans more to work with. Or add a Hunk DLC for shits and giggles, because he's already in Mercenaries. Just throw him in there. Don't even explain why Hunk's there. Do it like Fourth Survivor, but he's just there in the village, killing and causing mayhem. It works for it, I guess. Then there's, of course, Mercenaries. Mercenaries has gone through many iterations throughout its entire cycle, and I think many would agree it's one of Resident Evil's strongest components. But I think it wouldn't be a bad idea for this Mercenaries to add more than just what is originally offered. Add more characters than just Ada, Krauser, Hunk, Wesker, and Leon. Add Chris, Ethan, Claire, Jill, Rebecca, and add more maps and weapons to choose from. Done right, I think it could be the best iteration of Mercenaries yet, and could help remove the bitter taste of Village's Mercenaries from our mouth. And then, of course, the big thing I was going to talk about towards the end is this could all be done right. It could be a game changer. But another thing that would be awesome and amazing could be What If DLC. So What If DLC, is like Leon fails and actually is on the process of getting sent back to America, that sort of thing. Resident Evil's toyed with bad endings for all the way from Resident Evil 1 in its remake, Revelations 2, and Resident Evil 7, and Operation Raccoon City. Operation Raccoon City, you could kill Leon and Claire. That was like one of its big taglines, change the future. So I wouldn't mind seeing that sort of thing. What if Leon fails to save Ashley and Leon can't remove the plaga, so he goes missing, and maybe Chris or Claire, I would think Claire more than anything, have to finish the job. Something that's been done before, like with Operation Raccoon City, where you kill Leon and Claire, but it's RE4 and you have to finish the job Leon failed to do by ending him, hopefully save Ashley, and going through the same steps Leon did, albeit faster and quicker, because he's gone all the way to the end and he couldn't quite save Ashley, so he's gone missing for several weeks, and Claire has to find out what happened to him and figure out what happened. And I would pay money for that, to be honest. I'm also biased towards media that do dark what ifs. I absolutely love dark what ifs, where the hero goes evil or fails, and the good guy loses and the bad guys win. Star Wars, I feel, has done that pretty well with their games, and I would love if Capcom did that again, especially with how amazing games have come since Operation Raccoon City.
Little rough, don't you think?
Probably one of the most perplexing things about Resident Evil 4 is the characters and mercenaries. Every character except Hunk has some connection to the story. And for whatever reason, Capcom did never put Luis SERA as a mercenaries character. And that boggles a lot of people's minds to this day. Like, how are you not going to put Luis SERA, a character who actually had some sort of connection, who had, not some sort, but had some connection to the story, and gave us Hunk instead? The one thing I'm hoping for, on top of him just being more active in the story, is actually having a place in mercenaries, because it just blows my mind. It's blown a lot of people's minds still to this day. Why did Luis SERA not join mercenaries? Why was he not as a playable character in mercenaries? So I hope with Remake 4 he's a character in mercenaries. He has more of a role in Resident Evil 4, and I kind of just wanted to leave it for that little segment, because it just blows my mind that he was never considered as a character in mercenaries. So we've talked about a lot, possible DLC, improving upon extra game modes. We really didn't actually cover the shooting minigame that much, but I feel like that's one of those things that's fine the way it is. It kind of offers a little bit of reprieve. You get petas, you get all this stuff, and honestly, there's not much to say on that, but we have covered a lot. I'd be honestly interested to hear what you guys think. Do you think creating the new DLC for Resident Evil Remake would be a good idea, allowing more replayability? Do you think merging certain game modes together, like Assignment Ada and Separate Ways, would be a good idea, adding more replayability, maybe make it a longer campaign, combining them into a cohesive story? Do you think adding a randomizer would be a good idea for Capcom? I feel like that's like one of those things that would sell really well, as a randomizer licensed by Capcom. But should Capcom improve on what the original has and modernize the content already in place? Let me know down below. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. Comment what you think, of course. And of course, as always, Internet, I love you all. I'll see you all on the next one. Take it easy.